December 3rd, 1944. The Hurtgen Forest. Bone cold. The kind that settles in your joints and doesn't leave. Black skeletal trees claw at an ash-colored sky. Fog hangs low like a ghost refusing to lift. Somewhere distant, artillery thumps like a giant heartbeat. Inside an M4 Sherman tank, parked behind a shattered brick wall, a young gunner named Harlan Vickery leans into the eyepiece of his 75mm cannon. The tank's turret isn't facing forward. It's turned 180 degrees, pointing backwards. His loader looks sideways at him. "You really doing this backwards thing, huh?" Harlan doesn't answer. His breath fogs the glass. His fingers tighten around the firing mechanism. Then through the mist a shape emerges. A Panther tank. German. Heavy. Lethal. Flanked by two more rolling slowly down a muddy path like they own the forest. Harlan exhales. One shot. The 75mm round punches through the morning stillness. A second later, the lead Panther erupts in flame. The other two hesitate, confused. They weren't expecting a shot from behind a collapsed farmhouse. They weren't expecting a Sherman sniping at long range. Inside the turret, the loader gasps. The commander shouts, "Holy hell, Vickery! You hit him clean!" But Harlan Vickery doesn't celebrate. He's already adjusting, tracking the second tank. Because this isn't just luck. This is strategy. This is what happens when a farm boy from Kentucky rewrites the rules of armored warfare by turning his Sherman backwards and transforming himself into a one-man sniper team. They laughed at him, said it would never work, until it did. Before the Hurtgen Forests, Harlan Vickery was just another quiet kid from Whitley County, Kentucky. He wasn't tall or loud. He grew up fixing tractors, not tanks. His father ran a small farm. His mother taught school. After Pearl Harbor, Harlan enlisted because it felt right. At Fort Knox, instructors noted his steady hands and sharp eyes. While others fired by instinct, Harlan did math in his head. He measured distance, watched wind, calculated. Still, no one really noticed him. He wasn't the fastest, the loudest. In a war where big personalities rose to the top, Harlan stayed in the shadows. By August 1944, his unit landed in France. The Allies were pushing east, but now came the hard part. Terrain that heavily favored defense. Hills, dense forests, narrow roads, ambush country. That's where the M4 Sherman came in, America's main battle tank, with over 49,000 built during the war. But the Sherman had serious problems. Its 75mm gun struggled to penetrate German armor at long range. Its armor was thin compared to Panther and Tiger tanks. Soldiers joked it was a Ronson, named after the cigarette lighter, because it lit up the first time, every time. Still, the Sherman had advantages. It was fast, easy to repair, and when used smartly, it could overwhelm the enemy. But it required tactics. It required soldiers willing to think differently. That's where Harlan came in. After 2 months of skirmishes, Harlan's tank crew had bonded. His commander was Staff Sergeant Gene Corbin, a loud-talking Chicago native who kept things simple. Drive, shoot, survive. But Harlan was starting to think survival wouldn't come from driving and shooting. It would come from surprise, from thinking like the enemy, from doing something no one else dared. So one night while cleaning the gun, Harlan brought it up. What if we set up the Sherman in reverse? The loader, Private First Class Mike Rizzo, laughed at him. You mean shoot backwards? No, park it facing away from the road. Rotate the turret 180 degrees, use the rear to face the enemy. That way, we can back into position, fire, and pull forward to retreat. We lower our profile, stay hidden, strike first. Corbin stared at him. That's the dumbest damn thing I've heard all day.
At first, no one took Harlan seriously. They called it hillbilly logic, said he was trying to fight tanks like a squirrel hunts deer, sitting still and waiting. But Harlan kept thinking, kept drawing sketches, kept running calculations. He studied the 75mm gun's capabilities, especially when firing high-velocity armor-piercing rounds. These could penetrate 120 millimeters of armor at 500 yards, but effectiveness dropped with distance. If he was going to snipe, he had to choose his angles perfectly. Then, in mid-November, a nearby Sherman crew was ambushed. One tank took a direct hit, turret blown clean off. That night, Harlan made his move. He convinced Rizzo to help him run a test. They pulled back into the trees overlooking a small field, rotated the turret backwards, and waited. Nothing happened for hours. Then movement. German motorcycles scouting. Harlan tracked them through the gun sight, but didn't fire. It wasn't worth revealing position. But something clicked. The shot was there. The next day, everything changed. A lone panther was spotted harassing supply lines near Schmidt. Artillery couldn't pin it down. Air support wasn't available. Corbin, half joking, turned to Harlan. "You still think that squirrel tactic works?" "Yes." "Then get up there and prove it." Harlan chose the position near a clearing, reversed the Sherman into brush, turret facing out, and waited. Fog rolled in thick. Then movement. German motorcycles scouting. Harlan tracked them for the gun sight but didn't fire. It wasn't worth revealing position. But something clicked. The shot was there. The Hurtgen Forest was a meat grinder. 50 square miles of dense woods near the German border. More than 33,000 American casualties would be recorded there, more than at the Battle of the Bulge. In November 1944, Harlan's crew was ordered to hold the Kyle Trail and push towards Schmidt. Narrow roads, high ground for the enemy, trees wired with booby traps, German 88mm guns zeroed in on every bend. Every corner, Harlan later wrote home, felt like a death sentence. But this time, he had a plan. He found a bottleneck near the ridge above Weiserwade Creek, a natural funnel where German tanks would have to slow down and expose their flanks. He proposed setting up with turret reversed, hull angled to protect their weaker armor. Corbin hesitated. "This is a Sherman Vickery, not a damn rifle on treads." "I know, but if we fight them head on, they'll slice us in half." After tense discussion, Corbin relented. "One chance. You miss, we running." They moved into position before dawn. The forest was dead silent. Then came the rumble. 3 Panthers emerged from the tree line like predators. The lead tank paused to scan. Just a few more feet and it would expose its side plate, the weakest armor. Harlan didn't breathe. He adjusted with surgeon precision. "Target locked," he whispered. He fired.
The Sherman rocked back. The shell struck the Panther's side with a deafening clang. Flame erupted. The turret blew upward. Black smoke shot skyward. The other 2 Panthers slammed their turrets left, searching for the source. But Harlan was already moving. Rizzo reloaded. Harlan fired again, striking near the second tank, sending up dirt and smoke. The 3rd Panther opened fire, but too late. Corbin floored the engine, pulling them behind a tree-covered embankment. 2 hits, 1 confirmed kill, and the Panthers were now firing blindly into fog. Corbin radioed in. "Enemy armor engaged. 1 confirmed destroyed. Vickery sniper setup is working. Repeat, working." The reply was disbelief, but it didn't matter. The tanks were retreating. November 26, 1944. The Germans launched a desperate counteroffensive. Panther tanks advanced through narrow roads, supported by mortars and artillery. Harlan's unit was ordered to hold the southern edge of Kammerscheid. No backup, no air support. At dawn, fog returned. Harlan set up behind a low stone wall, turret reversed. "Vickery," Corbin said quietly, "if they hit us, we've got nowhere to run." "We're not going to run. We're going to hit first." 3 Panthers rolled in. Their formation was tight, efficient. They expected frontal resistance, not a backward turret aimed from the flank. The first tank crossed into view. Harlan adjusted. 700 yards. He fired. The shell struck low, hitting the drive sprocket. Flames burst from underneath. The second tank opened fire toward the blast. Debris flew. Trees shattered. "Reload!" Harlan shouted. Rizzo slammed the next round home. Harlan aimed for the turret ring. He fired. The round punched through. The turret lifted 2 feet before fire consumed the crew compartment. Then came the third. It saw them. Its gun turned. Slow, deliberate, deadly. "Move!" Harlan screamed. The tracks caught in mud. The Panther's turret locked on. Then, boom! A shell from another Sherman struck it from the opposite side. Reinforcements had arrived. 3 Panthers, all destroyed. Harlan's Sherman, scratched, shaken, scorched, was still standing. Word spread across the division. Other crews tried the tactic. Some succeeded. Officers began quietly instructing crews to scout like snipers, to treat terrain as cover, to fire not first, but best. In 3 confirmed engagements, Harlan's crew destroyed 5 German tanks without taking a single hit. One senior officer dismissed it. "Turning your turret backwards is a great way to die looking the wrong way." Harlan replied quietly, "With all due respect, sir, cowards don't sit still when Panthers roll into view." The room went silent. Slowly the brass began allowing situational flexibility. By December, at least 4 other crews used modified versions of the backward sniper setup. 2 scored confirmed kills. One crew in the 77th Tank Battalion credited it with saving their lives. They named their tank the Vickery Special. But for Harlan, it was never about recognition. He still cleaned his cannon by hand every night, still wrote in his notebook tracking each shot. Every time they moved, he scouted the land like a chessboard. Behind every legend, there's a cost. The cold wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Harlan wrote to his mother, "I don't know how to feel anymore. Every shot I make saves us, but every shot also means someone else's son doesn't go home."
He carried a photo of his younger sister, Loya, 8 years old, taped inside the turret. Something to remind me what I'm shooting for. When the snow melted over the Hurtgen forest, it revealed the ghosts of a doctrine undone. Among them was the legacy of Harlan Vickery. Official reports referenced innovative turret positioning and asymmetric armor utilization, but the crews who came back alive just said, "He showed us we could fight smarter." After a third near miss, a shell that killed the crew beside his, Harlan requested rotation. Not from fear, but because he'd seen too many good men die inches away. He had proven what he came to prove. When he stepped off the train in Kentucky in spring 1945, no one saluted. His little sister ran up and hugged him. His father handed him a wrench. His mother set another plate at the table. That, Harlan always said, was the best kind of welcome. He never built a career from what he did, never wrote a book, never called himself a sniper. But if you visited the Vickery place in the 60s, you might have seen an old war shell on the mantel, polished, empty, harmless. If you asked about it, he'd smile. "That's the one that let me come home." Stories like Harlan Vickery's remind us that war isn't about volume. It's about decisions. Quiet, calculated risks made by men no one notices until it's too late to forget them. Harlan didn't win through firepower. He won through a refusal to accept the obvious. He asked a question nobody else had the courage or foolishness to ask. What if I turn the turret around? And in that question lived a seed of everything that followed. Lives saved, minds changed,
A new way of thinking born not from a textbook, but from the gut of a scared young man in a steel box. Maybe that's the real legacy of soldiers like him. Not the number of kills, but the number of lives that didn't have to die, because one man decided to look at the battlefield backwards.